Hello everyone, my name is Pooja and I'm working on Ariba Procure to Pay product management team as a solution manager. So what we've planned for you today is to give you an overview of how the Ariba Procure to Pay solution works. So what I have planned is that I'm going to walk you through two detailed use cases which will give you a complete overview of how a end user creates a requisition in a Ariba system, how it gets processed, how the approvers on the approval flow can take action on this requisition. Once they do approve a requisition, we will then see how you could go ahead and create an invoice in Ariba Buyer, and finally followed with how you could reconcile the exceptions on an invoice. So there are two use cases. This would be the first use case, followed with a subsequent one in which I'll be showing you how to create a contract-based requisition. So what I will do right now is I'm going to jump into my Ariba Buyer solution and I will showcase this flow to you right now. Just a heads up, the Ariba Procure to Pay solution is pretty vast, and if we get into the depths of each and every solution, each and every module, it can take substantial amount of time. But the whole idea of this session is to help you get a quick overview of how the end user would experience the solution, how the supplier interacts with the purchase order to create an invoice, so you get a complete end-to-end view, and hopefully it's helpful for you to take it forward. Okay. Now I'm just going to bring up my Ariba P2P solution. So this is a standard Ariba Procure to Pay screen which you see before you log in. I'm going to play the role of Shadnol. Now Shadnol is a user who's going to go ahead and procure some items for his team, and he does it on a regular basis. So let's go ahead and see how he proceeds to do that. I'm just going to start by entering my username and password out here. So just enter CNOL, just entering my. Once I do enter into the screen, I'm being taken to the landing page out here. So over here, I'll just give you a brief overview of the options which are available, and then we'll start by creating a requisition. So right on top, you see the various modules like contracts, procurement. Now, these are based on the permissions which Shadnol has been given today. I've ensured that Shadnol is a contract manager, so he could have created contracts. And I've also given him the necessary procurement rights so that he can create a requisition as well. Now, just below that, we have a quick search prompt which allows you to search against the various approvals. So all you have to do is click on the drop down, select the approval, and do a quick search. At any point of time, in case you do not have the name of the requisition or a particular item for which you want to search for, you can actually click on the magnifying glass, which actually helps you to go into the advanced search options. Okay, just give me a minute. I think it's gone into I clicked outside. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go ahead and select requisitions. And let's take a case wherein I don't remember my requisition number. Probably would try to go in through advanced search. So it takes me directly to the landing page where I get much more options to identify the requisitions which I had created over a period of time on various criteria. So let's go back to the home page again. Of the left-hand panel, we have the common actions. So which will enable you to create any approval documents and manage any of your existing documents as well. Just below common actions, we can see the recently viewed. This shows you the list of documents which were recently created by Shadnol. Right on the center, we do have the various styles which helps the end user to know what are the actions he needs to do. So right now, the first action you can see is the to-do portlet, which actually denotes that Shadnol does not have to take any actions on his approvals because all of them are taken care of. It's 0 items. It shows that he's got 3 requisitions submitted and the fact that he has totally 5 receipts on which he has to take action on. So these are actionable, wherein you can just go ahead, click on them, and it will allow you to go ahead and take the action on these specific tiles, right? You do have more advanced functionality in each of the options on the right-hand corner. Depending on the permissions which you have, you would have a range of actions, like you could go ahead and reassign the approvals, and you could do the administration activities as well. So for the focus of this discussion, we'll stick to the flow which we had mentioned in the beginning of the session. So let me go ahead and create a requisition. So what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the option Create Requisition out here. Immediately it takes me to the catalog page, wherein it gives me a list of all the possible items which have been loaded for various suppliers. So I have the complete flexibility to shop by a category. I can shop by the suppliers. I also have the convenience of shopping by the contract. So in fact, if I know which contract against which item I want to pick up, I can do that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and search for supplier JCN Technologies. I can see the supplier listed out here. It gives me a range of items which are available with JCN today. So all these catalog items have been loaded into Ariba system. Let's go ahead and pick one of these items. So this experience is very similar to what you have today on any shopping portal. It simplifies the process for the end user because it's easy for him to understand and pretty much start using it immediately. So I've just selected this. I'm adding this catalog item to a cart. So let me quickly review the cart. Yes, what I'm going to do is probably just update the quantity out here. Now let me continue shopping. Now there can be various items which you procure. I've just picked up a catalog item for JCN. There's one more item which I needed, but I know that that's not loaded by my suppliers. So I can go ahead and add a non-catalog item for it. So the plus sign over here indicates that I can add a non-catalog item. So what I need to do is give the details of the item. So just saying that I probably wanted to add gifts out here. I can select the commodity code. I can basically go ahead and specify the quantity I want to order. I'm going to say 20. Let's say the price of this is going to be $40. I click on update amount so that the total amount gets reflected. And I'm selecting JCN Technologies as my supplier. Just add this to the cart. I can see I got 2 items now in my shopping cart. And since these were the items which I wanted to pick up, I'm just going to go ahead and say proceed to checkout. What has happened now is it has brought me to my requisition summary page. So over here I have my basic requisition information. Let's say rec created for JCN, created for, let's say we're doing all this for the marketing team. So let's say this is a requisition created for the marketing team out here. I have my information in case I want to send any comments or I want any attachments to be sent to my supplier. I have the flexibility of adding that over here. I'm just going to mark this as visible to the supplier so he can see this. And as I scroll down further, I can see the 2 items which I picked over here. So I'm just going to go into the detailed view of one of them and show this to you. So when I do pick up this item, what does happen is automatically the system understands based on the commodity which I've purchased and my user profile information as to which accounting information would have to get set. I have the complete flexibility of changing this if I wanted to. I have my shift to details out here. It has to go to New York sales office. So I'm good with the information out here. So I'm just clicking on OK.
Pooja, I have a question. Can you see also the tax amount of these of each product? Because we see only the price, but can we also have a look on the tax?
Text. Let me just go back.
Tax amount. Tax.
Oh, tax amount. Yes. Yeah. You do have the flexibility of defining taxes, charges, and discounts. This has come out recently in the 14S functionality. So yes, you can support that. I do not have that enabled in my system, so will not be able to show that to you. But yes, you do have the capability of taxes, charges, and the discounts. Yes.
Yeah. I have another question in the same area. Do you want to say in the requisition stage the tax will be shown and available? What I understand, after this requisition, maybe you'll go to the PO stage, correct?
Correct. That's right.
From the requisition stage, all the tax will be clear. And what about the item which is not available in the catalog, and I update the amount, myself, the information, and also the cost. If I don't know the cost, what I shall do?
So let's take the example of a non-catalog item, because what you're saying is very applicable in that cases.
Yes.
You do have the flexibility of submitting a non-catalog without a price and processing it further. Optionally, you could also get a quote from the supplier by entering into, you can make that item as a collaborative item, wherein you can invite a couple of suppliers to come and give the best quote, and you could accept one of those quotes and take it forward. So the net result, what I'm trying to say is you do have two flexibilities. One is on the item, you would have an option to mark it as a collaborative item. So you can invite suppliers to quote the prices on this, and there can be a to and fro exchange wherein you pick the best price and decide on the supplier from whom you want to take the price and then submit the requisition. That's one option. The second option is that you do have the flexibility of submitting this requisition with a blank price as well. In future, what we are planning to do is you would have the capability of masking this price also, so that supplier cannot see it, especially in the case of non-catalog. So that is one of the plans which we have in our roadmap to implement soon.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Sure. So, so what we had seen over here was the fact that we picked up two items out here. I'm going to click on OK, go back to my requisition summary page. So in the cart summary, it does indicate that this item is with JCN Technologies. There are two items which have been procured for him and the total price. Now, in case I had picked up items from various other suppliers, these suppliers would have got listed out here as well. So right now, let me go ahead and submit this requisition. So it indicates that the requisition was successfully submitted. I just wanted to quickly check on the approvals on this requisition. So I have two approvers out here. One is Archie Rooney, and the other one is a very powerful group, which is Purchasing Agent. Now, Archie Rooney has been added on the approval chain because he's the supervisor of Shadnall, and he has to approve everything, which obviously his reportee does put in a request for. So he's been added. The Purchasing Agent has been added in the approval chain because he's requested for a ad hoc item or a non-catalog item. we have a complete flexibility of defining the approval flow on various criteria. You could define it based on a commodity. You could define which approver gets added if the value of the requisition is X on a higher range. You can also decide that if it's a contract-based requisition, you want to skip the complete approval flow because the contract's already approved. So you do have a lot of flexibility. The ones which I'm telling you right now are just few examples, but you have a whole range of conditions which you can configure for your approvable document, and you can have different rules or conditions for different approvals as well. So this is what has been configured for requisition. So what we will do is we will log in as these approvers and approve this document. So I'm going to log in as Archie Rooney. Let me click on purchasing agent and see who are the people who are in this group. So I have Herman Long, so I'm going to log in eventually as Herman Long as well. So let me just log out. This is PR19, requisition for marketing. So what I'm doing right now is I've changed my hat. I'm playing the role of an approver. That's A. Rooney, who is going to log in into his system and view his to-do items. So under the to-do, you can see the PR19 has been listed out here. This is the same requisition which we had submitted earlier. So let's click on this to take the necessary action. So over here, I can see the 2 items which are added. I can see the fact that after me, the next person who's going to approve this would be the purchasing agent. Now, I have the complete flexibility of adding some comments out here as well. I'm good with the information which Sharnol has provided, so I'm just going to go ahead and approve this document.
Sorry, question. Can the approval be line-wise, for example, for one line and reject the other line?
So that is something which we don't have right now. Again, it has been planned for one of our roadmap items. We don't have a date which we can share with you, but this is something which we are definitely seeing, for which we've received a lot of requests, wherein you have a line item approval as well. So yes, it is getting planned as we speak right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this request. It gives me the flexibility of adding any comments. So I'm done with my task for the day as Archie Rooney. I have taken care of all my to-dos. Let me log out of my system now. Now what I'm going to do is we had one more user on the approval chain. It was a group which was added. That was a purchasing agent group. And one of the users in that group was Herman Long. So let's log in as Herman Long and take action. I can see my PR19 listed out here. I can log in as Herman Long. As you can see, his information is reflected right on the top. I'm going to go ahead and approve this request. It shows me the details. So Rooney says that he has no issues with the requisition. So I have quickly seen all the details. I'm good on this. So I'm going to approve this as well. So I'm going to log out from Herman Long's thing. Log in. I'm going to go ahead and show you the PO which was created. Logging in as Shadnol. I'm going to go back to my home page. In the recently viewed documents, I can navigate to my PR19. So I'm going to click over there. It shows me that this requisition has now moved to ordered. That indicates that the POs have now gone to the suppliers. So if I go to the orders tab, I can see that I have PO 15 and PO 16. Both of them have moved to ordered status. Both of them are with JCN Technologies. The reason we can see 2 POs have been created out here is because we have one PO which is for a non-catalog item. So it has resulted in generating a separate PO for this. So let me now log in as one of the invoicing agents and create a PO, create an invoice for this from the Ariba buyer side. Now, what we will do is I'm going to go ahead and show you the receipts for this. Let's take the example like JCN Technologies has gone ahead and supplied the necessary goods for PO15. So let's go ahead and accept that. So this is for PO15. Just clicking on edit. I have received the full quantity which I have ordered. So I can say accept all out here. And I'm going to go ahead and submit this. Now, once this is done, out of the 2 lines, you will notice that there was only one line for which, only for one PO for which I had received the items. That was for PO15. But let's say the supplier made a mistake and sent us the invoice for PO16, right? And in case we are generating the invoice for PO16, let's see if there are any exceptions raised for this because we have not received the goods, and we'll see how to reconcile the exceptions, right? So just logging out from Shannon, I'm going to log in as a user who has the invoicing permissions. So let's go ahead and log in as Gene Hallis. He's an invoicing agent. So he's also brought to his landing page. You can see Gene Hallis on the top hand right corner. He's logged in. I'm to go ahead and create an invoice. I'm just clicking on create invoice over here. I'm going to create a PO based invoice. Let's go to the purchase order option. Yeah, let's assume that I've got my invoice for PO16. So let's create this. Just enter, okay. And once I do enter my purchase order, you will notice that the line items have got added into this invoice automatically. So I can just go ahead and submit this. Now there are different ways in which you can create an invoice in Ariba Buyer. You can create a contract-based invoice. You have the flexibility of non-PO, and right now what I'm showing you is a PO-based invoice. So let's submit this invoice. Let us see the status of this request. We can see that there are no approvals for invoices. Now, this is a flexibility which you have. It depends from each and every buyer organizations whether they want an approval flow to be added on invoices or not. A lot of customers do not prefer to have an approval flow on invoices. Rather, they have it in the invoice reconciliation document. So in this case also we've depicted a similar case. I'm clicking on the reference tab. You will notice that the invoice has now moved to reconciling because it's identified some exceptions in the system. Let's look at these exceptions. So I can see this document under reconciliation. This is created for my PO16. I've clicked on it, and if I navigate below into it, I see that there are 2 exceptions which have been raised. One is for the tax variance, and the other is for the fact that the quantity has not been received. So I can go ahead as an invoicing agent and take the necessary action on this invoice, on this IR object. So it has identified that the tax was not defined on the PO. So and it has recommended, based on the system, it's identified $312. I'm going to accept this as a valid tax amount, which I know is applicable. I noticed that it said that the quantity was not received, but I just called up my requester and I've reconfirmed the fact that they have recently received the items. So we are good on this, so I can accept this quantity variance. So I'm just accepting this invoice quantity. And I then, after resolving all these exceptions, I'm clicking on this submit option. Once I do this, I will see that my document is fully approved, wherein all the necessary action has been taken on the IR document, and it should now go into paying state. So this is probably just taking a minute to refresh. Let's just go back and come back. Yes. So this is the IR invoice on which we had reconciled all the exceptions. Once all of them were resolved, you can see that we had accepted all the exceptions and made the necessary changes to it, if there were any. It then goes into paying status, and this gets sent out to the ERP system. So what I've shown you, the first flow is a complete end-to-end flow, which you can do on the Ariba buyer by creating a requisition. We saw how the approvers could approve it. We saw on various cases wherein the approvers could be added on the approval change because of various configurations and rules which we have in our system today. We saw that the POs got generated. We received the item for one of the PO, and we created an invoice for this other one. We saw the fact that there were exceptions raised because Ariba buyer system does a three-way match between the PO, the invoice, and the receipts. We reconciled the exceptions, and the IR object has finally moved to paying state. So this was the first scenario which I wanted to cover. Let me show you the...
Pooja, yeah. I have a question for this. Can we see also the electronic format of the invoice? Or because we see here all of the screenshots, but when the invoice is sent, probably an XML file is also generated out of the system.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have my system configured for all of that right now, because the information which I had got was we needed a very basic P2P flow. So I don't have that handy right now, so it will be difficult for me to showcase that. But what I can do is I can point you to the documentation, which should give you detailed information as to how you could do the same. I hope you have access to the demo setups which we have. Can you access our Ariba system, the demo environments?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Anyone?
So like this, I mean, to have the access, probably you have to provide the colleagues with these accesses, right?
Yeah, so I just wanted to inquire if anybody in this group who's attending the session right now has access.
Okay.
So anyone?
Can you provide this access to us, and it will be good.
I can check with my team. So nobody has access to it? Okay.
No.
Okay, fine. Let me check with my team as to what we can do about providing the access, and I'll get back to you. So Andrea, I will communicate on those lines to you as to what can be done about it, because I need to check with the formal process of doing that.
Okay, no problem.
Right. So
I have a question also, please.
Yes.
Okay, after we create the invoice and now it has become in the paying status, and you say this will be now a link to the ERP system.
This would be sent to the ERP, yeah.
Yes, this means that in the ERP system, all the financial impact will be in the ERP system. The
yes.
Invoicing to the liability to the vendor and the payment will be from the ERP.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So the second use case is wherein we can, what I plan to do is show you how you could create a requisition for an item for which a contract is already created, and how the contracted price kind of gets reflected on the requisition. We will see how this once a PO is created, how a supplier sees this PO on his AN, and how he could just do a PO flip to create the invoice from his side, right? So this is the next use case which we'll see right now. Okay. So we'll go back to Shadnall as he has a contract already created, and you'll probably create a requisition for that item for which it's done so that you can see that getting reflected. What I'm doing right now is I am going to my contracts by clicking on the contract option right on top. I'm looking at my documents wherein I can see my contract which is already created. Just clicking on it right now, I can see it's a basic contract which I've created with JCN Technologies, which is valid till 31st July. And I'm going to go ahead and just see for which item this is created so that we can pick the same item. Let's say this is for Mac PowerBook Monitor. Okay. So let's follow the same process of creating a requisition as we did earlier. You go to create a requisition. So you can think of a case wherein a customer, end user needed a particular item. So he may know the name of the item, he may know the part number. If he's frequently buying it, he just enters that into the system. Okay. Let me just go back to the home. It's probably taking some time. Repeat this step again. So I can see that I have a MacBook monitor with for supplier JCN Technologies. Yes, I want it in 3 days' time, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to the cart. Now, from an end user perspective, he may not be concerned whether contract is added or not, but I just wanted you to make a note that a contract for a person who is procuring on behalf of his team, this is very critical that he buys in line with the pre-negotiated contracts which his organization has with various suppliers. So for him, this information would be very critical that this is in line with the contract. You will notice that the price over here is $42.75. So when I add this to the cart and say proceed to checkout, my item gets picked up and gets added to my requisition. Over here, you will notice that the price which has got reflected over here is $30 because this was the discounted price for which we had created a contract. So that gets automatically applied, and the end user does not have to bother about the fact whether there was a contract or not, because the system is smart enough to pick it up and get it applied. So let's go ahead and quickly submit this requisition. I have my basic details out here, so I'm just going to go ahead and submit this. So over here, if I click on the show approval flow, it shows that none of the approvers have been added over here, for the very reason being that we have configured our system in such a way that if you're picking up a contract-based item, it is already approved by the organization that you can procure it. You do not have to add any additional approvers on the requisition. However, if you want to change this, you have the complete flexibility of doing that as well in any buyer organization. So this has now gone to ordered state. So what we will do right now is see how the supplier sees a PO on his AN and create an invoice out of this. So the order over here is for C10-R2. This is the order number which has got created. Let me log in as JCN Technologies. Okay. Okay, let me go through the process. I'm going to log in again. Give me a minute. I'll just close this window and come back again. I'm just taking a minute to log in into JCN Technologies. Just given me a prompt to change my password. Still have time for 13 days, so I'm just going to skip this and do it probably later. Okay. Okay, good. So right now, what we can see is the screen which a supplier actually sees today with respect to all the information which he gets from on the various orders. You can have the complete view over here. I'm sure you've already covered this in the AN session, or you may be doing it shortly. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to the order and releases to search for the contract-based order which we had generated. Let me pick up the order number from here. C10-. Just give it a minute to process. So we can see that we've already got this over here. This is for $30. Okay, so this is one which we have. So let's see this order. So this was for the MacBook monitor. We can see that. We have the price set as $30. This was the contractual price for which he's got the information. He can go ahead and confirm the order. What we're going to do right now over here is just create a standard invoice by just flipping the PO to create an invoice. So according to the information over here, the invoice has been successfully submitted. So let's go back to our Ariba buyer screen. I'm going to log in as Jean Hallis, the invoicing agent. Let's search for the invoices. Sorry, I should have searched. Sorry. This is the create page. We're going to go back and search for the invoice. So let's go ahead and select invoices over here. Supplier. So it's just taking a minute to refresh, but ideally the invoice submitted by the supplier, you should be able to access over here, and it would be subjected to the same flow which we had seen earlier for a PO-based invoice. wherein if there are any exceptions between the PO, the receipts, and the invoice, it will result in raising those exceptions, which you could reconcile, and eventually it would go to paying status. So let me just give one last try over here. Yeah, somebody wanted to.
Please continue, please continue.
Okay. Okay, it's taking some time to come in, but the process is pretty much the same, and I'll just give it one more try.
We cannot locate this invoice by the PR number, by the requisition number or the PO number?
Yeah, we can, let's go ahead.
We can, I think. Huh?
Yeah.
And I noticed that invoice number, you are filling it manually. It cannot be system generated, or we have to make it, it's always manual?
I need to check that with my team if we can. I'm sure there may be a mechanism in which you can pre-populate it in a sequential way, but let me check that with my team and get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was for probably, it's just, let me just pick up the PO number from CNOL. I don't remember that. So. So we have one over here, C10-R2. So we can see that there were two POs issued for the same contract. C10-R2 is the one which we had created. You can just quickly see if the invoice has come in and got matched to the PO. No, it's still not come in. Ideally, it would have got listed out here if it had got successfully sent from the supplier side. But we'll just give it one last try by logging in as Jean Hallis and searching for it. Okay. I guess there's some issue in sending it from the inside, but you would have got the invoice on the Ariba buyer side when the PO is flipped from the supplier side. So this was the last flow which I actually wanted to show to you. So what I have made a note of, one was the fact that you had requested for the demo environment, which I'll check with my team, and I'll connect with Andrea on that and see how we can provide that. The other point was the fact that the invoice number which we were manually entering, if that can be automatically set up to be done on a sequential number basis, I can check on that as well. So are there any other?
Yeah, I have another question, Pooja. All of this process that you did here in the Ariba Procure to Pay solution, it could be done also directly through the Ariba Network? As a supplier platform, yeah.
So you will, obviously, the rec to PO part, as you may know, is something very specific to the buyer side. And the invoice can be created by the supplier for the very reason, and that the primary reason being that that document is, the owner of that document is the supplier at any point of time. So once he sends the goods to you, he would also issue the invoice to you so that you can go ahead and make the payment. But the reconciliation of all the exceptions is something which is always done by the buyer, for the very reason that he does a match. He wants to ensure that before he makes a payment to the supplier, he's physically received the goods. He needs to ensure that that is in line with the PO, that is the value of the PO. There can be multiple instances wherein the price of the invoice would be on the higher side, probably because of the currency fluctuations. The value in the currency has fluctuated, and there could be a lot of other he might have issued an invoice for a higher amount. So all that would be done on the buyer side. The only thing probably which you can do from the supplier side would be wherein you could probably create an invoice over there. You can create an order confirmation over there. You can create a shipping notice from the supplier side. But the details of that, I think, would be done by the AN team when you have a demo with them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Is there anything else? Any other questions?
Yes, I would like to ask you about the flip the PO, because I'm not sure if I understood, because I always think about ERP, that in ERP we need to have the vendor, the supplier needs to create a sales order in his side and then create a delivery and a billing document. And what I saw here in Ariba is that the supplier can create an invoice based on the PO sent by the buyer. Is only this?
So we you can also create an invoice based on a contract as well. There may be instances wherein you don't have a PO issued to you. The supplier can create an invoice directly from a contract as well. But we do have the capability of creating shipping notices and order confirmation, but that's not the basis for generating an invoice. The primary basis being the PO, which is a request which you've received from the supplier that you want the goods to be delivered, or it could be a contract-based invoice, wherein you've already entered into agreement to probably provide the services on a regular basis for which you keep issuing the invoice. So
okay, and the contract, usually who creates the contract, the supplier or the buyer?
So it's based on, it is mutually agreed terms between the buyer and the supplier. What I was showing you was a contract. This contract was already created. You could load the contracts, the contractual agreements which you have already negotiated with the supplier via a CSV file load directly into the system, because it may not be possible for you to manually enter. You have the capability to do it manually. You can also load it via a CSV file channel as well.